Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a wrap up for both March and April. So all the books I read in the last 2 months. I missed my March wrap up time frame, so sorry about that. I'm going to combine them. March was kind of all over the place, but then with the Aurelium Gear Up 1 week readathon, and then in April we had the full first semester of Aurelium, which was very exciting, and also Realmathon. So there were a lot of things going on in these months, and I read quite a lot of books for me. I know others read like 30 books a month. That is not my journey, but I'm very happy if I read over 5 books every month, and I've been successfully doing that, which is amazing. Before hopping into my mini reviews on all the books I read, I want to introduce myself as I usually do. Hello, my name is Emily. On this channel, you will mostly find bookish content, but as this is not my main channel, I just make videos on everything that interests me outside of the beauty and painting space, which is what my main channel is about. So if you're looking for some more bookish content on your timeline or some vegetable gardening content, then I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. But let's hop into all the books I read. I'm going to try and keep things short and sweet. I love to ramble and talk your ear off, but there is quite a lot to get through. So the first book I finished in the month of March was Malice by John Gwynne. I had hoped to finish this in February, but I didn't quite get there, so it rolled over. That happens in real life. I know BookTube likes to have everything wrapped up at the end of the month, but that doesn't often happen for me. This is the first book in a dark, epic adult fantasy series that is 4 books long, the Faithful and the Fallen series. This is book 1, obviously. This was epic and amazing. I gave it like a 4.5 star. It wasn't quite 5-star feel, but I've heard that books 2, 3, and 4 are even better. So I am very eager to pick up Valor. It's actually going to be my next read in real time. I don't know when this video is going to go up. But we have like a prophecy and a chosen one trope and wars, and there are giants and giant creatures like giant ants, giant worms, and it is just so exciting. There's a ton of characters, a ton of POVs, but I honestly didn't find that I got confused. The chapters are very short, and we switch perspectives and places within the world very fast. So, but I didn't find it confusing at all. But I know some people might. So here is the map. So we'll jump from like here to here to here to here, like very quickly. So in closing, I really loved this. And if you love adult fantasy, then please pick up the series if you haven't already. Next, I read November 9 by Colleen Hoover. And I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I don't know if my audio picked that up, but my God. I have read Ugly Love and Verity by Colleen Hoover. Both of those were 5 out of 5 stars, and this just didn't hit the same. Once the reveal happens, I no longer believed in our main characters. It just really didn't work for me. So in this book, November 9, we're following a couple that's a romance who their lives are just going in very different directions at the time they meet. So they spend a whole day with each other, and it's like instant connection. They want to spend more time with each other, but she is moving from LA. Fallon, I think is her name. It's been a while since I've read it, 2 months. She is moving like the next day from LA to New York to start fresh. And while she's tempted to stay for a boy, her mother warned her not to change her life direction for a boy when she is so young. So she takes her mother's words to heart and goes and lives her life in New York. But they agree to come back together and spend a day together, 24 hours on November 9th every year, and see where their lives take us. Now, our male main character is an aspiring author, and he's using their story to write a book. And that's all I'm going to say on it. I really enjoyed my time with this book, but I didn't love it like the other Colleen Hoover books I have read. Next, I read Air of Fire by Sarah J. Maas. My best friend Rebecca and I are buddy reading the Throne of Glass series. My voice is going because I just filmed my TBR. Together for the first time this year. We're flying through the series. It's really been a joy. This also worked for Read a Book with Elemental Magic as part of my character building for Aurelium. Air of Fire. I think you can put 2 and 2 together on what elemental magic there may be in the Throne of Glass series. This book I liked the least of what I've read so far. So we did start with Assassin's Blade, then Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Air of Fire. It's the third book in the series, but if you read the prequel novellas first, it's the fourth, if that makes sense. This was really slow. It's necessarily slow, like you're building a lot of stuff up, like things are happening, but the actual plot that you're excited for isn't moving very much in this book until the end. So I did end up giving this 4 out of 5 stars. Still really enjoyed my time, but it did feel really long until the latter part of the book. Then it was like, okay, things are picking up and now moving at the speed I've become accustomed to in Sarah J. Maas's books. But like I said, it's like necessary to be slow. Like we are learning things and like some background things are happening, but we're able to witness them rather than being just told that they were done beforehand. So I can understand why, but this book kind of had middle book syndrome, if you know what I mean. Next, for Samantha March's bi-monthly book club for her YouTube memberships, we read Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. I wasn't able to read this in time for the live show. This is my first Simone St. James and I really loved it. I gave it like a 4.5 stars out of 5. This is a paranormal mystery thriller. I'm not really sure what the genre is exactly, but it is a dual timeline. There are serial killers and dead girls involved, but also a ghostly element that isn't just completely speculative. Like, oh, I'm feeling a little haunted feelings. Like, no, there are creepy, paranormal, crazy things happening as well. So it's like a little bit of like that fantastical or paranormal element in there as well. And the two timelines kind of mirrored each other, but were still different and enjoyable to read both. And they like merged together so nicely. Like I really enjoyed reading this book. Next, I read Temptation by Ivy Smoke, the first book in the Hunted series. This is for my Aurelium gear up. I needed to read a book with Hunted or Hunt in the book title, author name, series name, something like that, so I could have a bow, like a bow and arrow, for my weapon. Oh my god. I gave this book 2 stars, which I really feel like was generous. I hate giving 1 stars because I feel really bad, but like this book was not good. I read it on KU. I have it like under spoilers for my Goodreads review, but I'm gonna put, as long as you see this cover up on the screen, I'm going to be talking about spoilers, but really I don't recommend you read this book. So this is a book about a university student and her professor. It's a smutty romance. I'm just going to read my Goodreads review because I'm already flustered just thinking about it. The characters, writing, and plot were terrible. The steamy sex scenes bumped it up to a 2. Our main character, Penny, is awful. I honestly can't be bothered to write a full coherent review for this book, but will paste in the notes I was making while reading. Penny is extremely arrogant. She won't go to her stats classes because of her foreign prof that she can't be bothered to try and understand. A direct quote from the book was my stat professor droned on in what he thought was English. That is just so gross to me. Forgives her attempted rapist in a day. They become best friends. And he means so much to her now. Online snooping about her professor's philanthropy and can't help but notice the scantily clad children living in Africa. She lies about her age, but feels honesty is the most important thing in their relationship, leads two guys on, and then plays the victim for not being able to choose or being forced to choose. If I have to read another paragraph about her choosing a tank top to wear again, I'm gonna lose it. And then since writing that, there were two more. Like, we always had to go with her in choosing her outfit in her closet, and she always chose a tank top, and that was like constantly written about. Don't read that book. Again, for Aurelium, gear up. For my guild, I needed to choose an animal familiar. I chose a fox and grabbed Fantastic Mr. Fox by Roald Dahl. I gave this 4 to 5 stars. It is a super small, cute children's book. People are being really weird about it in the Goodreads reviews about how you shouldn't teach children to steal from the rich to survive and all these things. If that's what you think this book is completely about, you totally like miss the purpose of like perseverance and survival and doing what you can, even though these really horrible people are trying to kill you and starve you out, so then you take some food from them. Again, for Aurelium and my character building, I needed to read a book mostly set in a forest. I read The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. I gave this 5 stars. I loved this. This is a Russian folklore-inspired adult fantasy trilogy. And I was reading this in March, so it was technically like coming up to spring, but there was still a ton of snow here where I live, so it definitely had cozy, wintry vibes. It is set like 85% in a forest, and it was just really lovely. I know people kind of don't love the writing style, and it is a bit different, but it was such a joy to read for me. I loved learning more about Russian folklore. Now, this is a fantasy novel, so she did take some liberties with that. She says it in the author's note, like, this she did change some things for the purpose of a fantastical story, but I just really loved it. There are heavy themes of religion in here, so if that's something you really hate to read about, then maybe this wouldn't be for you, but I really loved this. You're following a main character is Vasya, and her mother died shortly after giving birth to her, but she needs to save her village after her father remarries, and her new stepmother is very devout and tries to do away with the old customs and bring in this new religion. The last book I read in the month of March was The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. This was the Patreon buddy read for Stephanie Bookverse's Patreon. This is a middle grade fantasy that is like a prequel to the Lord of the Rings series, which is adult fantasy, and I did read this as a child, but I didn't remember like a ton about it. It's just kind of an adventure story. I really struggled to get through this. I found it really slow for the majority of the book. The later parts were really like much better. I loved the audiobook. I read the audiobook for half of it until I couldn't find that anymore because it got taken off of YouTube for copyright reasons. And the only other audiobook I had access to was the BBC one, which kind of sounded like a movie, and they skipped a ton of the book, so I didn't like that. Overall, I gave it 3 stars. I find it kind of strange that The Hobbit is very like on the younger side of middle grade, and then the rest of the series is very much adult fantasy. Like, I think I found the difference in targeted age to be very jarring to me. I'm not sure. I liked it well enough. I don't think I'll reread it a second time necessarily. And I really did struggle to like get through this entire book. Next up in April, we had 48-hour TBR Star Hop Readathon for patrons. That is really hurting. That happened for a second time. I don't remember all of the roles we had, but I will just go through all the books I read in the month of April as well. So first in April, I read The Grown Up by Gillian Flynn. This was a really short book. It's like 50 pages. I can check right here. I have my computer. And this is a thriller novella, 79 pages. And I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. Again, it's on the shorter side, and the ending is very open. Like you kind of decide what has happened, kind of thing, like an ambiguous ending. And that's not my favorite thing ever. But like I said, it was super quick to read, and I really did like it. Oh yes, and for Aurelium, year 1 syllabus, I needed 6 classes to be a Master of Elements, and I did complete all 6. And the grown-up was for Elemental Studies, read a book less than 100 pages. Next, I finished, finally, The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. I have been struggling to finish this book for a long time. Pick it up and then finish it. And I don't know what my problem was. It was the size and the hype, but I don't know why I couldn't push through that. I gave this like a 4. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. And I'm so happy I read it. Like, I had such a great reading experience with this. This is the second book in the Mistborn series. And I gave Mistborn 5 out of 5 stars. This was definitely a step down for me. There was some meandering parts, like slow and very political parts, which I like. Political and military style fantasy books, but it really did seem to drag for me in the middle. The beginning was very exciting and the ending was insane. So I'm very excited to finish this series and pick up The Hero of Ages. This worked for my astronomy class, a book at the top of your TBR. And my reading this book was in a reading vlog that I can link up in the cards for you. Then I read Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Shauna McGuire, the second book in the Wayward Children series. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars as well. This worked for my animal studies class, read a quick read. In this installment, we're following Jack and Jill in their portal. So the Wayward Children series is an adult portal fantasy series following children who get stuck in these portal fantasy worlds, and then they stumble back home into the real world, and they have trouble adjusting. So there is like the Wayward Children's school, and some books follow the kids there, and other books follow the kids while they are in like their portal world. And we're following Jack and Jill where they landed in their portal world. And this series is way darker than I originally thought. I mean, I discovered that after reading the first book, and that continues into the second book. There are some darker themes, but they are very quick reads. They're less than 200 pages, and I'm really enjoying reading through this series. In April, Rebecca and my buddy read continued, and we read Queen of Shadows. This is book 4. This worked for my restoration class, a book that features healers. And I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I like so much happens in this book. It's crazy. I really struggled to read the 5 chapters per day that we typically do with our buddy read because I just wanted to keep reading over and over again. I absolutely loved this. Again, I can't really go into what this was about. Just that the difference, I gave this one 5 stars and Air of Fire 4 stars because Air of Fire kind of meandered there for a little bit and was much slower, but this one was not slow at all. Next, I read The Awakening, the first book in the Zodiac Academy. This was the Patreon buddy read for Stephanie Bookverse once again. This worked for my conjuration class. Source light on the cover. This has stars on it. I'm just going to go with that. I don't know if stars are a source of light necessarily, but that's what we're going with. This is a TikTok made me buy it situation. This is a fantasy romance, bully romance. Set at a magical school, but they are like college age, not younger. And I gave this book 3 stars, which, I mean, I'm a sucker. I wasn't expecting to even give it 3 stars. Throughout this entire book, I was telling anyone who listens how much I did not like it. I didn't see the hype, but I'm invested now. I was not a fan of the writing. Sorry, I'm looking over here. I want to read my Goodreads thing. It was very simple with literally no nuance. Like everything is just told to you and told to you and told to you in very simple, basic kind of ways. Like I really didn't like that. I also had issues that I feel could have been caught by editors or beta readers. Again, this is a self-published book, so I gave it a little bit of slack, which is why I gave it 3 stars instead of lower. But the twins that we're following, the Gemini twins, are from Chicago. But they say things like Hoover and Posty, which are more like UK or even maybe British terms. Or maybe European terms. I'm not sure, but they're not terms from Chicago or from America at all. I'm Canadian, but our authors are from the UK. So I just feel like those slang terms, like if you're going to write characters from a place other than your own, I feel like you should know these things and as a part of character development, of like just understanding the slang a bit more and the differences between the countries or continents. And that, like, it pulled me out of the story every time. You're like, these girls are from Chicago. They didn't like suck in their breath like a Hoover. Like they would say vacuum. But this book was like bad reality TV where it's very entertaining, but not great quality, if you know what I mean. Like, I will be continuing just to watch the drama and the train wreck that are these 2 girls unfold. And also, like, the girls are just so dumb. Like, the other characters will be explaining things or laying it out for them or warning them or telling them not to do it. And they're just like, la, 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 and like get themselves into trouble. And then get super embarrassed for literally no reason, or a reason that could have been entirely avoided if they weren't so stupid. And lastly, for the month of April, I read Exodus by Kate Stewart. This is the 2nd book in the Ravenhood series. This worked for shapeshifting class. Creature with claws on the cover, and this has ravens on it. Ravens have talons, which are claws. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I gave Flock, the first book, 5 out of 5 stars. And this I just didn't enjoy quite as much. It is 90 pages longer, and I didn't really feel like it needed to be. However, you know that like TikTok sound or reel sound of like emotional damage? That's what this book is to me. A lot happens in here, and you cry, and then you're happy, and then you cry again, and it was a lot. But I didn't agree with like totally everything that our main character does. So I enjoyed Flock more, the first book. So I gave that one 5 stars. I gave this one 4 stars. I don't really have a lot to say beyond that. This is kind of like a reverse harem dark romance series. And the Ravenhood is kind of like mafia or bike gang like. They're not quite like that, but like that's the kind of vibes. And maybe like a Robin Hood situation. I really am enjoying the series. I bought the 3rd book already and can't wait to read it. Wow, that was a lot of books for me to chat about. Sorry that this video is so long, but I'm very happy with all of the reading I did in the months of March and April. I'm making progress on series. I completed all the classes I needed to for Master of Elements, which feels really great. That was my goal. I read 6 books in April, which was like my minimum goal, 6 to 8. And there were some chunky books on there. Also, for Realmathon, I was Team Bale, which was for fantasy romance. So The Awakening worked for that. Queen of Shadows, and kind of. Realmathon's main theme was military fantasy, so like The Well of Ascension and Queen of Shadows worked for that. So overall, I'm very happy with the points I earned for my team. I was really hoping to finish The Crown of Gilded Bones by Jennifer L. Armentrout in the month of April, but I just finished that yesterday, so I'll talk about that in my May wrap-up since I finished it in May. And I didn't finish it for a Realm or Realmathon or anything like that. So let me know in the comments down below your favorite read of the month of March or April, since this is a wrap up for both. If you did enjoy today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up so that I know, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!